Hello, I'm Dr. Rick Fowler. I'm a graduate professor of clinical psychology and sports psychology at Truett McConnell University. I've been asked to comment on a model that I put together years ago called the 1-4-16 model. And I think it also applies in various ways. It could be in domestic, at home, as a parent, or also as coaching. I first developed using this model with my two children. The approach to parenting my wife and I had used for several years just didn't work, and our kids just weren't cooperating. They would kind of fight us all the time, and we had difficulty relating to them. And so my wife and I went together and we just put together our minds together, and we said, what can we do to change this? And we came up with the 1-4-16 model. And when it was implemented, the conflict in our house decreased about 70%. So I figured if it works at home, it's going to work in athletic situations as well. For example, again, a domestic absolute, and the 1-4-16, the 1 represents absolutes, the 4 represents the team culture or team rules, and the 16 represents team preferences. So what that really means is that for every 1 absolute, you should have about 4 house rules and about 16 preferences that my kids or athletes should be able to have. So as I was looking at this, in a domestic situation, the absolute was, we changed it, said a parental attitude, absolute was to teach our kids responsibility. So out of that, we developed 4 house rules where parents choose to have maybe their son mow the grass on a regular basis to learn responsibility. But preferences, then, parents allow their son to choose when to mow the lawn within given parameters. So I would say to my son, okay, on Sunday, your job is to mow the grass because we want to teach you responsibility. But the issue is not when I would say, do it right now, because that would cause stress. I said, okay, Chip, you can do it whenever, but as long as it's done by Saturday at noon, because we're having company on Saturday evening. So you can do that. And I said, if I wake you up on Saturday morning and you haven't done it, what permission do you give me to tell you what to do about the commitment that you need to have? And so when I started doing this, he relaxed and he started doing stuff. He never fought me then at the results. So I thought, well, this is probably very good also for coaches. So reviewing a little bit more on what absolutes are, we should have a very minimal number of them. And by repeating and demonstrating our team's absolutes, I think players should become ingrained and accepting of these absolutes even without thinking about them. And I tell coaches to indicate to their athletes how they would approach it if they disagree with an aspect of your coaching or are frustrated about some aspect of your team's dynamic. So the coach has a right to set up some absolutes of what it's going to be, and I'll give you an example in a minute. Then house rules, or what I call team culture, you need about 3 or 4 items that would modify that absolute. So for example, it said in various ways, the coach needs to relate to players the importance of how house rules that they have created. And then they find ways to communicate these house rules by trying different methods until they buy into it. So again, they restate those house rules throughout the season, and these are things that they have to do. But house rules also means that you listen to your athletes. So you as a coach may be implementing a house rule, but if the player is on another page, there will not be a connection. So don't assume a communication link has been established. You may need to ask the player, what was the essence of what I just said? So that you're trying to get out of them, and you're not repeating what you said as a coach, but you're saying, this is the rule. What do you get out of that? I mean, what did I ask you? What's the essence of what I said? Then immediately confront a team player on it when an absolute house rule is broken or ignored. And so athletes will test your absolutes to see if they're serious or not. And I feel it's very important that we make sure they know what they are. Then the 16 is the interesting part, which coaches don't normally do. implement in their team. It's what we call preferences. So, in other words, the key here is the ratio. It could be 1-3-6 or 1-2-4 or 1-4-16. It doesn't make any difference. But for every one absolute, again, you have about 4 cultural team rules and then 16 preferences. In our culture today, that's very important to keep in mind, because our athletes and Gen Zs and others are having difficulties just blindly accepting things without having some team preferences. So on items outside your core beliefs or absolutes, you encourage diversity of ideas. You ask players on ideas how the practice should be run. As long as your practice agenda is fulfilled, athletes need to feel they have some control. And then when possible, brainstorm with your teams on items that affect them. So I got here several examples. Let's say a coach insists on team loyalty. There's no negotiations at all. Okay, that's an absolute. So I put down 4 house rules or 4 team absolutes that comes in a culture, how it's implemented, 10 team rules that foster team loyalty. First, it's the team first attitude is one of them I put down. Put the team's needs above personal agendas. Team loyalty is respect your teammates. It means you have accountability. It means you have confidentiality. You keep team discussions, strategies, and personal matters private to maintain trust. So those are the team rules. Then you have team preferences. So in building team loyalty, there are about 16 examples on how a coach might allow team members to make decisions without interference, fostering autonomy while maintaining team cohesion. For example, when on the road, let the team decide where to eat within a certain budget. Maybe let the team decide on a season motto. Let the team collectively establish codes of conduct, such as punctuality or effort expectations, giving them a sense of ownership over team values. You can say, let players choose specific drill routines, giving them ownership over their preparation while aligning them with team goals. You can involve athletes to add input into scouting reports, allowing them to suggest tactics. Allow athletes to identify team areas of improvement and decide how to address them in practice. Permit players to nominate or vote team captains. Assign roles like organizing team bonding activities, encouraging peer-driven relationships and leadership. Team members decide seating arrangement on bus trips. Allow captains to have weekly meetings with players. So on and so forth. You can just add to all these, but these are ways that the team feels a part of the process of winning, and they put themselves in that, and the coach allows them to do things that doesn't interfere with their absolutes or team rules. And so we say in context, what research has indicated shows that for this generation of athletes, the more preferences given to them, the more they will fully buy into the program. So referring to the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, we add, there's no law that says you can't put salt blocks out. So the horse licks that and gets thirsty and goes to the tank. We as coaches need to be that salt block. And for a coach, that salt block is preferences. And so if a team needs phone breaks or whatever in order to stay loyal, you give them the breaks to do that. But at the same time, you're not compromising on the values that you have set forth in the process. And we trust that if you implement these, the ratio of this, or 1-4-16, or like I said, 1, 2, or 4, or whatever, the ratio of preferences is more than the absolutes, that then you will have that team loyalty and the team will produce much better.